Hello everyone, welcome to the episode 5 of What's Next with Sumit. What kind of skills do you think are required?
To come up with all these three skills: your soft skills, your domain skills, and your technical skills, right? This is a kind of a package which will make you eligible, and then the corporates would be happy to take you.
If a student is confused in the final year of graduation, whether he or she wants to go into teaching, whether he or she wants to go into R&D role after doing life sciences.
My honest advice will be: do mistakes, no problem at all. Just enter that area. If you just have the feeling that you can make an attempt, and you just have the correct attitude, right?
The interesting question to ask you would be कि entry level की salaries कैसी?
सिर्फ फार्मेसी स्टूडेंट की बात करें तो आई थिंक टुडे दे विल स्टार्ट समवेयर बिटवीन.
Hello everyone, welcome to the episode 5 of What's Next with Sumit. जैसा कि आप लोगों ने पुराने एपिसोड्स में देखा होगा, अब तक हम लोग डिफरेंट करियर जर्नीज को कवर करते हुए आए हैं. In the last episodes we have covered a person from QA QC. We have covered a person जो प्रोफेसर हैं फार्मेसी कॉलेज में. हमने एक लॉयर को कवर किया, and then we have had the opportunity to cover a person from regulatory affairs field and an entrepreneur and a person who moved to fintech role. So different career journeys को cover करने का जो हमारा उद्देश्य है वो ये रहेगा कि स्टूडेंट्स जो इस एपिसोड को देखेंगे वो कुछ अपने रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चंस को इन एपिसोड्स में इन एक्सपर्ट्स की गाइडेंस से कुछ आंसर्स को ढूंढ पाएँ, कुछ क्लैरिटी ले सकें, एंड देन प्रोबेबली इट विल हेल्प देम टू शेप अप देयर करियर बेटर. सो today's episode 5 of What's Next with Sumit, we have another esteemed guest, Anil Dhamija. Anil has been a consultant for last 2 decades in one of the top multinational companies of India, and he has established himself, which is again a very niche role, coming back from science background to become a life sciences consultant. And we will try to understand how he shaped up his career, क्या challenges थे उस career को shape up करने में, और कैसे अनिल ने उन challenges को overcome कर जर्नी है वो यहाँ तक का cover किया. So welcome Anil to this episode of Hi Anil, What's Next with Sumit. So first question first, ये बहुत ही niche role है जो what you are doing right now as a consultant. We see a very few people from life sciences going to a consultancy field, either for a reason that it is limited to other segments like engineering or finance. Life sciences, although it is growing up, but life sciences एक बहुत ही niche segment है अपने आप में consultancy role के लिए. तो my first question to you is कि how did you really shape up your career? आपने अपना career कैसे शुरू किया, क्या क्या different milestones थे, और उनको आपने कैसे cover किया in the last 2 decades?
Yeah, hi Sumit. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you are right in a way that it is about, I would say, lack of awareness among the students also who are currently pursuing. And for me also, when I started, I think I was not very much aware that what kind of opportunities I might end up getting when I am trying to get into a corporate company as such, right, after completing my MBA. So MBA definitely from a good college was a turning point, because that provided me a platform actually, that and that has given me an exposure and an awareness, first of all, that these kind of things exist. You're very right in saying that most of these roles are generally done by people who are primarily not from life sciences background, because they either come from engineering background or finance background or commerce background. When we talk about courses like what we typically end up doing after our 12th standard, once we pursue medical, non-medical or commerce field. But needless to say that these are the positions which very much exist for people who come with the science background. And this is something that I won't say that now it is emerging in India, that is existing in India for quite some time, but maybe because of lack of awareness for people who specifically come from a degree in pharmacy, or they are not able to understand it much, and they are not able to explore it to the extent. Now coming back to my case, I think it all started without having much knowledge about what I'm trying to get into, because it really happened through chance, through a campus selection process when I completed my MBA. And they just took my CV and they just told me that, okay, you have done some course in pharma. We are, and I end up joining Cognizant, which is a very big niche company in IT sector. But I was really not aware that what they are going to do with me. They are just taking me to the campus and they will start with a training program. But it was a campus selection and then I had to join that company. But when I ended up joining that company, then I started getting exposure to that what exactly these people do in life sciences area. Now, long story short, uh, I was first surprised that most of the work that is taken up by these consultants or even other operations guys who are managing the life sciences vertical within Cognizant, they come from primarily engineering background, or maybe they have done some courses in the allied science field. When I use the word allied science field, I typically mean people who are BSc chemistry or biotech, but may not be directly having the bachelor's in pharmacy degree. So that was kind of an eye opener for me. But then when I started learning about the processes, what exactly they do, then that really provided me a good exposure that what really these guys are doing. Now coming back to the point that how we see this field when we look from a corporate point of view, because I have entirely after completing my post graduation, I have only worked with corporates. I have not, unlike other guys who are in academics or have done any other other things. I have not ventured out. I have always been working with corporates. Now within corporates, we need to really understand that all the Indian multinationals, right? Whether you're talking about TCS, Infosys, Wipro, all the companies that we generally hear are the biggest IT companies. They do have a substantial presence in life sciences, which we call it as a life sciences division. If you look at the structure of all these companies, they have a very solid life sciences vertical. Now we need to understand that this vertical is also divided into two areas. I'm just trying to simplify it. One area only provide business processes and services to pharma companies, mostly the multinational pharma companies, all the top companies, you name it, and they have their they have it on their order book as a client through contractual system. So uh, now there is another division which is a typical IT division, which is also working for these multinational pharma companies only. But the IT division will be very much focused on developing applications, right? The software programs typically, and the business processes and services, they typically basically support them in the manufacturing of new medicines. So when I say the manufacturing of new medicine, they pretty much end up managing the processes right from the discovery, because these companies are anyways in the business of actually developing new medicines. So right from
Right.
discovery to when you look at the entire R&D life cycle, you move from discovery, then you find your molecule, you file up INDs, you apply for ANDAs and so on. Then you go for clinical trials, commercial manufacturing, marketing, and even the post safety surveillance, which is pharmacovigilance. So all these services are managed by all these companies in their life sciences vertical, and there are tremendous opportunities when we look at people who come from the pharmacy background, right? How they can be a part of these life sciences vertical. But as per my experience, unfortunately, when they are pursuing the degree, they I would say have a very little understanding or knowledge of what exactly these corporates are doing, how they pick up candidates, right, who are coming fresh from colleges, what kind of roles they can offer, what kind of pay scale they can offer, what kind of growth opportunities they have, and so on and so on. Which definitely I can explain it a bit that how they can definitely help you to get into a very niche and very emerging areas. When you really talk about coming 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's a common theme across all the individuals who
Yep.
have covered we have covered on this show, that by the time you are in your college final year,
Yeah.
most of the people who are pursuing the career, they were not aware of this exists beyond the college ground. So this has been a common theme, that you just move out, figure out what to do, if you need to acquire new skills, if you have to do a higher degree in a certain different specialty, and then you kind of figure out a way to build your career around those niche areas.
Yeah.
So I think you are right in a way to say that all these healthcare companies, they require the support of IT companies
Yeah.
from developments to conducting their clinical trials and various
Yeah.
other things. And it's a huge domain. It's not a
Yeah, I
small
know.
domain. So somebody from a life sciences degree will understand the basics of
Correct.
uh, basics of drugs, basic mechanisms, basic of biology, and he or she can very well fit into the IT side of things when it comes to drug development, when it comes to
Correct.
running various protocols and INDs, etc. So coming to the same relevance of asking the second question, that what kind of skills do you think are required? Let's say you pursued your masters and then a consultancy firm picked you up and then they trained you and then you kind of started liking the career and then you kind of build your career over last 2 decades. From a student's perspective, if somebody is now, students are aware, it's internet is there, everybody's aware of what kind of career options are there. So what kind of skills do you think a
Yeah.
student should start looking at from his or her third, fourth year to get into the mindset of a consultant from very beginning?
Yeah, sure, Sumit. So let me say that in very simple terms, let us divide these skills into three areas. One is your soft skills, right? Which will cover, how you come across as a person. So I will try to simplify it and try to explain it in a very generic way, right? So your soft skills, which will cover how do you communicate, how do you present yourself, how you are going to work with people, right? How you network with people, how you are going to work in teams, because corporate is all about working in teams, right? Big team, small team, cross-functional team, business teams, technical teams. So there will be a variety of teams, right? So you have to be a person who is going to gel with different kind of teams, right? Because as you can understand that every every corporate is having a typical organizational structure, right? There will be finance department, legal department, HR department, and so on and so on, right? And you will be, once you are, of course, you will be mostly interacting with people where you end up joining, right, in that part of an organization. But it is always a cross-functional interaction, right? And you will only be able to make success out of your role once you will be able to understand how you are going to work in a proper organizational metrics, which also comes in your soft skill part, right? So that is a soft skill part, right? So how do you communicate, and when I say that communication, don't always understand that it is about how fluent you are in English. It's not about that. You should be good in basic English. Why? Because you are only going to work with mostly the customers who are from US or Europe, right? So they don't understand, your, because in India we have, regional languages, and of course Hindi, a national language, but we will be comfortable in speaking to each other. But mostly you have to interact with these customers, right? So you should be comfortable in this language, right? Now you will see variety of dialects in US English, European English, UK English, and you will get familiarity to that. That is completely okay. You can't expect people who will be entering into corporate to understand all these dynamics. You will learn these things slowly, right? You will adapt to that requirement. That's completely okay. But since you asked that, in terms of your preparation, what you should be aware of, please be, as a student, please be comfortable with this language, right? And in a very polite manner, and don't think that, that, because you will find in corporate that, people who are extremely good because of their, background, that they have been always educated, through convent schools and have went through those kind of colleges, so they will be very, very solid. But what I'm trying to say is that you should be comfortable, right, with English language. Not like that you should be great, right, with English language. That is not at all required. That is a myth. So that is one area which is a soft skills part, right? Now then there will be two other areas, right? Because you will end up working with the life sciences domain, life sciences vertical of that company. The company will have hundreds of vertical, right? They will have finance, retail, supply chain, logistics, airline, any other area that you can think about. But you will end up, because of your background, working with the life sciences vertical. So you should be good with your domain knowledge. When we say the word domain knowledge, you should be very clear with the life sciences terminologies, life sciences cycle, that how a typical new drug is developed, what kind of processes are taken care of when a pharma company actually starts thinking about developing a new molecule for any disease that they want to treat. Simple, right? So with your science background, I'm not saying that you should sound as an expert. The word that they would definitely see in a candidate is contextual knowledge that they see, right? Whether you have that context, right, once you are working with us, right, of all these products, right, that these big innovator companies are manufacturing, right? So, in very simple language, when a scientist gets into a lab to discover a new molecule, what kind of things he do, right? And then once the product enters into a clinical trial, how it is getting tested in humans, right? What kind of data is generated? Your simple stuff, right? So you should be having a good awareness about that, right? You can have very deep expertise into one area, like for example, that if you are very much interested in clinical trials, then you can end up joining a specific work stream in that life sciences vertical, which deals with only clinical trial. So they call it as like clinical data management function, right? CDMO, clinical data management operations, right? So everything related to clinical trial will fit into that, right? So you can develop an expertise in that area, but have a very good understanding about the overall domain knowledge of life sciences. So that's the second skill part. And third, which is now emerging in the last 5 years, because you will be working in an IT company, have some basic and good understanding and an emerging understanding of latest technologies, correct? Because now it is very important that you should be aware about how AI is shaping up, artificial intelligence is shaping up and making contributions in life sciences industry, right? In different areas, right? What is the role of these models, AI models in pharma industry? And when you talk about even the other technologies, like for example, Google Cloud Platform, GCP, Microsoft Azure platform. So what exactly they are, how these big companies like GSK, like Pfizer, Novo Nordisk, Novartis, all these multinationals, how they are using these platforms, right, in their companies, right? And so that they can improve their operations, they can improve the manufacturing processes, the discovery processes. The idea is that they are every day making investments in these areas to improve their company performance, right? So you should be aware about all these things. So in short, once you come up with all these three skills, your soft skills, your domain skills, and your technical skills, right? This is a kind of a package which will make you eligible, and then the corporates would be happy to take you. And you need to just slowly work in all these areas, right? Don't try to be master in all these areas. It's very difficult. And the idea is that you should have awareness and you should have some understanding in all these three areas, that what you are going to offer to the work, right? Because at the
Right.
end of the day, we need to always remember that in corporate, the one thing that will never leave you right from day one till the date of your retirement, you will always be competing with other corporates. So you should always be aware from day one, right? Because if you end up say joining one company, say TCS will always be competing against Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, Cognizant, and multiple other big IT companies, right? So there will be professionals like you who will be hired on those companies, and you guys will always be competing for services, right?
Right. So I think it's a very valid point that if you are coming from a
Yeah,
particular domain, number one thing is that you should be having a decent aptitude
yeah,
and a decent knowledge of that particular domain, because you are hired for that particular domain,
exactly.
and companies do expect that you will be requiring trainings.
Yes.
And companies that you mentioned, I heard that they are very good in employee trainings, especially at
Yeah,
the starting level. So they spend a lot of money, a lot of resources on training freshers. So if a fresher is joining these companies and aspiring to become a consultant, like Anil said, I think it is very important for students to note down these three things: that you should have your domain knowledge intact, you should have a working knowledge of English language. You should not say that I don't know, I'm coming from a tier 2 tier 3 town and we were taught in a particular language, I can only speak or understand this much. But I think if you're aspiring to shape up your career, you have to
yeah,
work towards these very basics. आपको ये सब करना ही पड़ेगा, so that these companies can at least absorb you at entry level, then groom you, then shape up your career, and then train you in different verticals. Um, Third thing that Anil mentioned is to know all the technologies. what I understand from this is that you may not need to learn coding, right?
Yes.
आपको पाइथन आना
Yes.
जरूरी नहीं है, आपको जावा के बारे में आना जरूरी नहीं है, बट आपको आपको पाइथन और जावा का डिफरेंस पता अगर होगा तो वो
Yes.
बहुत हेल्प करेगा आपके लिए, राइट?
Yes.
सो यू कैन नॉट बी ब्लैंक कि ये क्या है. दीज आर नॉट एलियन वर्ड्स एंड द वर्ल्ड हैज मूव टू एआई, द वर्ल्ड हैज मूव टू अ डिफरेंट लेवल ऑल टुगेदर. So whatever you are doing, whether you are in life sciences or whatever you are doing in terms of your graduation, अगर आप लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलॉजी से अपडेट रखते हैं अपने आप को, these things help you to start getting absorbed at entry level in these, in giant companies that Anil just mentioned.
Correct.
One more thing, Anil. So although it may not be a simple skill to acquire during graduation, but do you think analytical skills is something that comes natural to a person when he or she joins a consultancy firm, or is it something that one can also learn if one aspires to join a consultancy firm? So we go through all these, data interpretation and
Yeah.
stuff during your CAD days and GMAT days.
Yeah.
So what about such skills which can either be natural to a person or can be maybe, acquired to a level to get to know more about the basic requirement of this job?
No, very good question. I can definitely say with 100% of confidence that you can definitely acquire those skills, because it just takes small amount of conscious effort, right? You take small steps and you understand that if I really want to improve my analytical skills, right? Because at the end of the day, like you correctly mentioned, data is everything. Data is future, right? When you're talking about technology or even your domain knowledge, everything is linked to the data that these companies are generating, right? And they are using their data to move forward, right? Simple. Now, when you talk about, and with data, when you say this umbrella words like analytical skills, there will be, subdivision of that. You will see in these companies data analytics, data modeling, data interpretation, data visualization. So there are a lot of branches, right? When you deal with this data, right, that these companies generate. You're 100% right. Even if you are starting from scratch, that you don't know anything about these analytical skills or all these things that I'm talking about, there are, first of all, there is lot of training material, right? Like we all know that, Coursera, Udemy, all these channels are now available. Very, very simple courses, right from the starting level, right? For example, when you want to learn AI, when you want to learn data modeling, right, you will see, if you type in Coursera, the first basic course will be AI for everyone. The course name is AI for everyone, data modeling for everyone. Start from there. That will introduce, right? Like we start learning ABCD. When I want to actually start, when I want to learn English as a language, we start from ABCD. Similarly, you can start with these courses, right? Go very, very slow. Spend time, and you can definitely improve your skills. In fact, you can, and over a period of time, the only thing in all these areas, right? When we really want to sum up that how you can improve and how you can progress in these areas is, please learn from your environment. Come with basics, because even if you ask me that what is the maybe right thing after 1 or 2 initial years of, I would say, training or struggle that I saw in corporate, that worked in my favor was that how my colleagues, my peers are actually using these skills, right? How they are learning new things. So if you will keep your eyes and ear open, and you are able to actually function and able to see that how they are, when they see data in front of their laptop screen, how they see it, what they make sense out of it, how they judge it, how they analyze it. If you just adapt and see, of course, human mind is sharp enough. We can learn from others. You can easily, with the help of your foundational knowledge, you can easily grasp those skills, and you can easily improve your skills. And it would just take, and you always think that you are not in a hurry, right? Some people will definitely be faster with you. They will move up in corporate, and you will feel like, there is a lot of competition. Be it, right? Let them move fast. Take your own pace, right? And you will slowly, reach to that level, right? But don't just limit yourself, and don't discourage yourself that you cannot learn anything, right? Because you don't have certain background, you can definitely learn any new skill. And like you correctly mentioned, The training material will be ample. You will get a lot of support. All that is required is how much you are dedicated and how much additional effort you are willing to put in to learn those skills. So that is not an issue at all.
No, I think it's a relevant point because it's a 40-year journey. So you are doing
Yeah,
your graduation in 20s, you are maybe doing a post graduation by 25, and you have 40 years ahead.
yeah,
So you cannot just say that whatever you did in your graduation is sufficient enough to carry forward these 40 years of
yeah,
career journey. You have to evolve, you have to learn new things,
yeah, yeah,
you have to make mistakes, and like you said, I mean, there will be people who will be faster, but then there is no hurry. If you do not know something,
yeah, yeah.
try to learn that. If you do not know something this year, next year you can learn from online portals and with the help of your colleagues and seniors and mentors
Yeah, yeah.
and reach there. It's all about your willingness to learn and how you really kind of catch it up. So how you really cover up what is missing in your particular domain.
Yeah.
So important point here is the willingness and the attitude towards learning new things and shaping up your career. So coming to the next question, if a student is confused in the final year of graduation, whether he or she wants to go into teaching, or whether he or she wants to go into R&D role after doing life sciences, or working as a consultant in one of these companies, how one can assess himself to kind of fit into that particular role, कहाँ पे वो असेसमेंट कंसल्टेंट की तरफ लेके जा सकता है, या क्या ऐसे पैरामीटर्स हैं जो एक स्टूडेंट के लेवल पे उसे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस दे दैट दिस इज समथिंग दैट ही और शी वुड लाइक टू स्पेंड द नेक्स्ट 40 years into.
Yeah, see, I would say that even, first of all, if you have some mentorship or guidance initially, right? Because I understand that it is easy to say, but very hard to get, right? That you get in your college days when you are really thinking about making a career, you get someone who can really, understand you as a person, that what kind of personality you are, and then really can motivate you and guide you in the right direction. But even if it is not happening, my honest advice will be, do mistakes, no problem at all. Just enter that area. If you just have uh, the feeling that you can make an attempt, and you just have the correct attitude, right? That it's not like that I'm just entering it for the sake of entering it. I'm going to do my best, give it a nice attempt, and if it doesn't work, I end up learning something, and then I will move out and try other things, right? So even if you enter into sales and marketing, you think that there is a lot of struggle, sales is not my thing, that I can travel a lot and I can do all that stuff, deal that pressure, the numbers, the targets and all that stuff. So move out of that, right? Now here is this interesting correlation that you should, where the awareness of all these things help, right? So let me tell you what somebody very top shot explained to me when I was also struggling, that what is the difference between a job and a career, right? Job is something when you are focused on 8 to 5, what you are going to do today. Career is something then what you told, that when you are planning for 40 years, right? So there is a huge difference. When your mind always works that you are going to do a job, right, you will always be a failure, because you don't know. You are just doing something because you have entered into something, or you want to sustain yourself, because रोटी तो सबको खानी है, तो कुछ पैसे कमाने हैं, राइट? तो 8 to 5 ये काम करूंगा, फिर सुबह उठूंगा 8 to 5 वो काम करूंगा. So that is a job. But when you plan something, that what you are going to do in next 2 years, then next 2 years, then next 2 years, which is a 40-year journey for you, and you need to improve yourself, grow, that is a career. Now, in career, it is allowed to fail. Nobody can really, as you can see, nobody can plan 40 years, right? Today, once you are, because if somebody is like so sharp, then you are really talking to next Mukesh Ambani for sure, who can really see 40 years in future and can create an empire. That's very good. But if you really talk about 40 years of career, please make mistakes. Now I'll give you an example that how even like most of us who had no idea that what exactly is, and we all end up actually taking a sales job, starting from a medical representative and understanding that how whether it is a vaccine, that you had a very good experience in medical devices and then small molecules, traditional, the products that everybody is selling in all parts of India, right? So basically a typical sales job, right? Now, even a sales job experience, can you imagine, can take you to a big corporate company, and I can explain you how, right? Because those skills can really help you if you have really that career vision. Even if you look at the trend, it is all about awareness. This big multi nationals like Novartis, they have a global captive center in Hyderabad. GSK, they have a global captive center in Bangalore. They have a very huge presence, and they have invested very heavily in their commercial teams. They call it as commercial teams. Now, what these commercial teams are actually doing, they are all, and this is all again a mix. When you talk about a commercial team, you will see people who have good understanding of how pharma territories are designed, how the incentives are formulated, how the different type of products, small molecules, large molecule, biotech, biopharma, medical devices, how they are sold in different territories. Of course, we are talking about US or Europe, right? Taking care of FDA and EMA regulations. But they are the people, when they talk about these domain skills, those three skills: soft skills, domain skills, and technical skills. So they come together. So the domain skills part is that commercial model understanding, correct? And the technical skills is about softwares, right? Your Salesforce, your CRM softwares, how they come together. And they are the people who are sitting in Hyderabad and creating all those plans for all the Novartis products when their sales representatives are going to talk for their products all over the globe. Now, imagine that even if you have a sales or a marketing background in Indian market, right? Working for Cipla and Bexy, all those kind of companies, right? At least you have a very good exposure that how actually sales is done. What are the sales territories? How product is sold, how inventories are managed, right? How to see, right, which product is selling, who is writing, how to promote the product, how to launch new marketing campaigns. So you always carry that basic understanding, right? All you need to do is that contextualize that understanding and learn about US market, learn about Europe market, right? And see that how those and this understanding can fit into those models, and learn about those things, right? And be a very good fit and start working in those commercial teams with Novartis and GSK. And trust me, those are very, very highly paid jobs. But people don't understand that how they can use those skills and be a part of something very different. So what coming back to your question, no knowledge is getting lost. Please make all those mistakes, but understand this, that what is existing in the market and how you can use one knowledge even as a not successful medical representative or area sales manager, and still be a very successful person in a big multinational pharma company and make a very good career. So, and this is just an example. Everything is correlated in such a way that you will be amazed that even a person who is running a medical store can do a lot of things in corporate, because there are fields like transition migration experts. What they do, because I have worked for 2 years as a transition consultant. Whenever a new contract is given to a company, this person will be responsible for setting up the entire operations in India. Imagine that you are Pfizer and you are running three, four three, you are running your process in 3, 4 countries, right? You are running it in US, you are running it in Germany, in Europe, or in Japan, and one day your management is deciding that you are going to consolidate everything and you are going to outsource it, and you are going to start running it in India or China or all these countries, right, where outsourcing typically happens due to laws. So these transition consultants or migration people are responsible for setting up a new shop in India, consolidating all those three operations, right? In Germany, in Japan, and in US, right? So they will be traveling will be involved very, very heavily to all these three countries, understand their business, and set up a new entire operations for them in India, in any Indian city, right? Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, wherever, right? But what knowledge is required? He is just thinking from all angles: legal, financial, operations, supply chain, manufacturing, because you are actually setting up a new thing, right? Like you are setting up a new medical shop. The only difference is that in a medical shop, you are also analyzing your competition, your local market, how you want to store your schedule as drug, how drug inspector is going to come and inspect you, right? So you think from all these angles. Now you have to just broaden your thinking and think from like you are setting up a new company, right? So no knowledge is waste. You have to just understand that how you want to use it in other areas and have awareness about it.
Wonderful. So I think you have to be very good at whatever you do. So once you are if not very good, at least above average, then in whatever you do, you will excel.
Yes.
So idea is that if you have a positive attitude, if you are doing good at whatever you are being asked to do, and then you get a lot of chances to
Absolutely.
learn new things, travel the world, and understand how something can be transitioned and something can be developed. So my next question will be that
Mhm.
what kind of jobs or roles are emerging in
Yeah.
life science consultancy, because you have already mentioned that there are different verticals within life sciences consultancy. There is clinical trials, there is pharmacovigilance, then there is regulatory, then kind of setting up the BPOs and setting up all
Yeah.
these processes for somebody sitting in India and setting up processes for US, Europe. I think there are multiple verticals. So, what according to you are the emerging verticals in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, sure, Sumit. So let me explain it in a very simple way because it's a very broad topic, but let us try to cover it in a very simple way so that everybody can make sense out of it. So when we talk about say consultant, or there are other terminologies also because there are a lot of companies. Someday you will see it as a life sciences advisor, life sciences consultant, life sciences subject matter expert, life sciences domain consultant, and so on and so on. Now there even within this space, right? There are a lot of players for students to choose from, right? So there are these typical Indian IT companies, Infosys, TCS, Tech Mahindra, Wipro. They are all into this business of providing life sciences services to all the multinational pharma companies. So when you were correctly saying clinical, pharmacovigilance, regulatory affairs, and so on, right? So let us call all of these areas as domain within domains, right? So you can be an expert in clinical domain. I can be expert in pharmacovigilance domain, right? So one choice that you have is that if you have very specific interest in either of these domains, try to build your knowledge in these domains, and then you can end up joining those domains and build your career in that, right? You can start from an analyst level, then you can be a group lead, you can be a general manager, you can be then a head of that domain and delivery partner and so on. So these are the typical roles, and you can then what I'm trying to tell you is that you can have a choice to grow within that domain of that company, correct? And what you will be doing is that within that domain, whatever companies are giving you work, you will end up managing those accounts for that domain, right? So that is one area that you can pick up. Now there are very, very niche companies. So I'm now really talking about the top shot, which we call it as Big Four also, E&Y, PwC, right? So Accenture Consulting, Capgemini, and all that. So they have their own very specific life sciences advisory or consulting divisions, right? Now, if you want to work in those divisions, you should be very good with the life and sciences industry knowledge. So there, your restriction is not domains. You are basically your play field is the entire life sciences industry. So what would happen, Sumit, is that these companies will get work from all the multinational pharma companies with a problem statement. I want to improve my supply chain. I want to improve my discovery. So these advisors from these big companies will come in. They will understand the problem and they will give them solutions to implement. Right now, that solution will be a blend of everything. A process improvement also, how you are manufacturing your products, how you are doing research in labs, how you are doing partnerships, with academia or with other CROs to bring new products and so on. So they will have the broader knowledge of everything. So they are very, very sharp people, and they will come up with the solutions, plus that component of the IT will be attached to it, because at the end of the day, if I want to simplify something, I will take the help of technology and simplify it, right?
Okay.
So you can target those companies which are not very, to be very honest, easy to get into. You will see that the pedigree of the people is very, very different who are working. But again, coming back to the basic, it is not like that you cannot get into those companies. you can definitely get into those companies. All you need is that keep learning and just evolve yourself with respect to what is happening in world and how you need to absorb new knowledge, new content, right? So that is one set of companies that you can target, right? Now these traditional companies plus those life sciences companies, right? Now the other aspect that you can think about the different roles also, that is a separate dimension to it, right? One thing, of course, when we started with the discussion on the consulting part, even if you think that, say, because the career is 40 years, like we discussed, after 10 years you think that बहुत हो गया consulting, अब और नहीं करना है, boring लग रहा है या travel कम ज़्यादा हो रहा है, or whatever reason, right, best known to you. So you have multiple areas with your same background to get into, right? You can be a very good business development guy, right? If you especially come from, if you have a flair of selling, right? With all these companies, all these roles exist in US, Europe, you can settle in US, you can settle in Europe, you can start selling these services. Trust me, these guys even don't have background today in life sciences, still they sell everything, right? And they have salaries in, like 6 or 7 digits. So they are experts in selling. You can very well get into those areas, right? So selling you can pursue. If you think that you are a people person, वो होता है ना कि मुझे लोगों के साथ काम करना ज़्यादा अच्छा है, मैं टीम्स को
Right.
मैनेज कर सकता हूँ, राइट? मैं क्योंकि कंसल्टेंट इज मोर लाइक एन इंडिविजुअल पर्सन, राइट, हु विल रन द शो, बट यू थिंक दैट वो बोरिंग हो, टीम्स के साथ लोगों को मैनेज करना, उनसे काम करवाना और बड़ी बड़ी टीम्स, तो यू कैन गेट इनटू कोर ऑपरेशन आल्सो. दीज कंपनीज रन द operations for all the multinational pharma companies. Total outsourcing होता है यहाँ पर. So you can be a delivery leader who will be running the operation. आपके पास 100 लोगों की टीम, 200 लोगों की टीम. So all you are doing is, like in your sales job, you have a team, you have a territory, you have a target. Similar model होगा. You will have a team, you will have a P&L target, you will have metrics to achieve कि क्या आपके numbers होने चाहिए every month, every quarter. तो वो सब आपको responsibility मिलेगी and you can end up doing those kind of roles also if you have that kind of mindset कि मुझे इस तरह के काम में मैं ज़्यादा comfortable हूँ as a person, जो लोगों से काम करवा सकता है and उस तरह के operations को run कर सकता है, because those are regular operations which will keep on running and you will keep getting targets, right, as a run rate, that how much revenue you need to actually do every month, every quarter, right? So you can end up doing all those kind of roles. So the bottom line is the opportunities are like huge, right, once you enter into this, because it is not like that कि आपने सोचा कि कंसल्टेंट के लिए ये स्किल्स थे, ऐसा नहीं है. यू हैव लाइक हेल लॉट ऑफ रोल्स वेयर यू कैन इजीली मूव. तो आपके पास बहुत ऑप्शंस है कॉर्पोरेट.
Wonderful. I think so. Depending on the personality trait, one can move here and there, which is comforting for students who are listening. So you mentioned there are people who are earning 6 figure, 7 figure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The interesting question to ask you would be कि एंट्री लेवल की सैलरीज कैसी हैं, क्योंकि वो भी एक स्टूडेंट्स के लिए बहुत बड़ा मोटिवेटर है. अगर किसी को स्किल्स एक्वायर करनी है, किसी को उस करियर में अपने आप को देखना है, सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एंट्री लेवल सैलरीज आर देयर इन जनरल? विदाउट नेमिंग द कंपनी यू कैन टेल व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सैलरीज आर देयर.
See, देखिए, first of all, yeah, that's a valid point, and let us try to differentiate between these things. Like एक हमारी ट्रेडिशनल इंडियन कंपनीज हैं, राइट, बिकॉज देयर आर मल्टीपल प्लेयर्स हु आर ऑफरिंग दीज काइंड ऑफ रोल्स, राइट. सो एक हमारी ट्रेडिशनल इंडियन एमएनसीज हैं, लाइक TCS, Wipro, Accenture is a multinational, but they also have an Indian arm. So typically, अगर डिस्कशन के लिए TCS, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, Infosys, typical Indian MNCs. So इनका एंट्री लेवल, I think that will never be a very great entry level, especially for a graduate, right? If you come with a postgraduate tag, that is a different game altogether, right? That what value, new value you are bringing. But अगर हम सिर्फ फार्मेसी स्टूडेंट की बात करें, तो I think today they will start somewhere between 5 to 6 lakhs, right, per annum उनका पैकेज होगा. But that will be for the first year or first 2 years, right, where you will be under training, जिसे वो probation period बोलते हैं जनरली, right?
इट्स मोर लाइक अ पे ट्रेनिंग.
Correct. It is
आपको
kind
भी
of
मिल रही है, आपका एक्सपेक्टेशन बहुत ही लिमिटेड रहेगी कंपनी की,
correct.
एंड यू विल बी मोर काइंड ऑफ नर्चर्ड एंड ग्रूम टू
Exactly.
परफॉर्म अ हायर रोल.
Correct. So that will be the time, and I would say the most crucial time, जब आपको, जो हम वो टीम स्किल्स की बात कर रहे थे, सॉफ्ट स्किल्स, टेक्निकल स्किल्स एंड डोमेन स्किल्स, उस पर अब काम करना है, राइट? बिकॉज वी ऑल, इन ऑल फेयरनेस, वी नो कि हमें कुछ भी ग्रेजुएशन कॉलेज के बाद इन चीज़ों का आइडिया नहीं होता। तो वंस यू एक्चुअली स्टेप अप इनटू दिस एरिया, जो ये दो साल होंगे वो बहुत क्रिटिकल होंगे, बिकॉज आपके सीनियर्स होंगे वहाँ पर, आपको इन कंपनीज में मेंटर भी दिए जाते हैं, राइट। तो आपको रिसोर्सेज मिलेंगे, बट इट विल डिपेंड अपॉन यू कि आप उन रिसोर्सेज का उस 2 साल में कैसे यूज करते हो, करेक्ट। बिकॉज माइंड यू यहाँ पर ना एक चीज जो इस एरिया में आने के लिए, कॉर्पोरेट में ना हैंड होल्डिंग जीरो होती है। आप ये बात जो भी सुन रहे हो समझ लें कि यहाँ पर सब कुछ आपको आपको चीजें सब कुछ है। इट इज लाइक अ प्लेटर, राइट, बट आपको चूज करना है कि उस प्लेटर में से मुझे क्या खाना है और कब खाना है, राइट। कोई भी उस प्लेटर को आपकी तरफ, राइट, वो जैसे ही 2 साल अगर आपको प्रोजेक्ट में काम नहीं करना आया या कुछ नहीं आ रहा, तो यू विल सी द अदर साइड ऑफ द कॉर्पोरेट वेरी सून, राइट। तो वी शुड बी अवेयर अबाउट दिस, राइट, कि वहाँ पर वो कल्चर भी होता है। तो वी कैन नॉट जस्ट ब्लाइंडली से दैट कि सब अच्छा ही हो। तो आपको वो 2 साल, बट आई थिंक when you are motivated, when you have a ambition and a career objective कि आप क्यों एंटर कर रहे हो या क्या हो, it's not that very hard also to be honest। आप आराम से अपनी पेस पे लर्न करो, रिसोर्सेज आपको सब मिलेंगे, राइट। एंड वंस यू गेट इनटू द प्रोजेक्ट्स, योर रियल जर्नी विल स्टार्ट, राइट, हाउ टू वर्क इन प्रोजेक्ट, राइट। नाउ वहाँ पर आप एक बहुत सारी नई डायमेंशंस भी ऐड कर सकते हैं कि आप नई नई सर्टिफिकेशंस एक्वायर करो, करेक्ट। लाइक अगर प्रोजेक्ट में जाते हो तो प्रोफेशनल पीएमपी सर्टिफिकेशन होती है, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट प्रोफेशनल, वो परस्यू कर सकते हो, करेक्ट। सो ऐसे आपको बहुत सारी डोमेन सर्टिफिकेशन, सॉफ्ट स्किल सर्टिफिकेशन वो आपको मिलती रहेंगी, करेक्ट। तो एज अ इंडिविजुअल बी ऑलवेज इन अ लर्निंग मोड कि मुझे अपने स्किल्स कैसे इंप्रूव करने हैं। तो उनको प्लान करो कि अगर मैं अपने 3rd ईयर में हूँ करियर में या 4th ईयर में हूँ, तो अगले 1 या 2 साल में मुझे कौन सी सर्टिफिकेशन करनी है, राइट। सो दैट आई विल बी एबल टू बेटर हैंडल माई प्रोजेक्ट्स, माई क्लाइंट्स, राइट। उससे देर विल बी अ स्ट्रॉन्ग पुश टू योर जर्नी ऑल्सो विद इन कॉर्पोरेट। आपके प्रमोशंस फास्ट ट्रैक होंगे, आपको जो प्रोजेक्ट्स मिलेंगे वो निश प्रोजेक्ट्स होंगे, राइट। ये सब आप कॉर्पोरेट में जाके सीखेंगे कि ये सब बहुत प्ले करता है मैटर, राइट, कि कौन से लेवल के प्रोजेक्ट्स आपको मिल रहे हैं, किस तरह के क्लाइंट्स आपको मिल रहे हैं, राइट। एंड that comparison, that competition within the company will always keep on going every day, right? So you have to always come across as a person who is best at
सो
it।
आजकल आजकल वो जॉब लग गई है और बैठने वाला माहौल
नहीं
तो
नहीं,
गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स में भी नहीं है, तो कॉर्पोरेट में
हाँ
होने का
ठीक है।
तो सवाल ही नहीं है। सो आई थिंक इन जनरल जो वाइब्स आ रही हैं, द वे यू हैव डिस्क्राइब, it's an interesting domain to work as a consultant, to start as a consultant, to work in a consultancy firm,
या
because you are learning, you are traveling the world, you are learning different skill set, not only one particular domain कि आपने एक रिसर्च के लिए आपने एक पर्टिकुलर आपने पूरी जिंदगी लैब में निकाल दी।
या
So you are learning different side of the stories and you are learning different side of the skill set and evolving as an individual,
या
where depending on your personality trait and आपका hard work आपको of course it will take you forward. I think it's an interesting domain, the way you mentioned that one can learn different skill set, one can evolve based on the personality type, and one also get the exposure which which is multi-dimensional exposure. So overall it sounds an interesting domain to work with. So a related question here, you mentioned product management, you mentioned project management. uh, let's say a person working in a consultancy who he kind of help to shape up your journey. आप किसी हॉस्पिटल के साथ काम कर रहे हैं या किसी फार्मा कंपनी के साथ काम कर रहे हैं, so who are these people in this pharma industry who are you interacting with regularly?
Yeah, very, very, very interesting point. So let us go back to the same thing. Suppose you are working, say, in one domain area which we will calling as vertical. Say, let's take example of say clinical domain, right? जिसके अंदर clinical operations आएगा, clinical data management, clinical trials management, right? सब कुछ। तो उसमें जो आपके counterparts होंगे, right? You will see that most of those will be medics with a medical degree, right? Or they can be postgraduates in all these different science work streams, right? कोई genomics में होगा if somebody is actually working in the discovery of that particular area, right? So the novel medicines, right, using genetic medicine, as a technology. So if you are so typically, to answer specifically, you will see that they are highly in a way compartmentalized in such a way that if you are working in small molecule area तो आपको एक टीम मिलेगी जो बहुत specialized है in small molecule area, right? So they will be knowing end to end of small molecules, right? उनकी discovery कैसे होती है, उनकी clinical trials कैसे run होते हैं, उनकी commercial मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैसे होती है, उनको मार्केट कैसे किया जाता है, उनको उनकी सेफ्टी मॉनिटरिंग कैसे होती है. तो दे विल बी वेरी वेरी फोकस्ड, राइट. बट एक कॉमन स्किल जो आप देखोगे फ्रॉम एन देयर एजुकेशन बैकग्राउंड परस्पेक्टिव वो होगी बेसिकली कंप्लीटली मेडिकल बैकग्राउंड, राइट. वो मेडिक्स होंगे या फिर वो PhDs होंगे इन ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री, इन मॉलिक्यूलर बायोलॉजी, इन masters in biotechnology, of course, with the pharmacy degree also, masters in pharma, right? And in the last 5 years, you will see that amazingly they will have also additional certification from IT, because this is now kind of mandatory for them to understand the IT component, right? Because they must have done some courses, right? Foundational courses in data management, data modeling, AI, and all that. So these guys on the other side of the table are learning very very fast. Now even if you suppose take the other side that you are not working in clinical domain or safety domain, you are working in commercial domain, correct? So aapko, you will be not be surprised, like I worked in commercial domain for some time in Novartis. All my counterparts were actually from this Ivy League, Harvard, Boston, uh, or you name those, Singapore University, all those guys who are top shot of those schools, because they come with the pedigree of understanding finance, the commercial models, right? How company needs to manage the budgets, because as we all know that एक medicine को बनाने में billions खर्च होते हैं. So these guys come with the expertise in all these areas. So they will be knowing commercial models like this, right? So they will be very highly equipped with statistical models, right? So you can correlate, right? उनमें से कुछ ऐसे भी होंगे जो actuarial sciences या बहुत ही high end statistical models की knowledge रखते होंगे with specific certifications and all that, right? So you can see that once you pick up your domain, commercial, life sciences में commercial भी होगा, clinical भी होगा, accordingly you will get the counterparts, right? Who will be highly specialized in that, right? Now one few areas that which are quite unexplored, like जो हमारे लिए भी unexplored थे, like health economics outcome research, HEOR नाम की unit. So these are the people who really decide that how to package your product, right, and get an approval from FDA, right, in US and of course in EMA, right. So these are the people, you will be surprised, जहाँ पर Indians हैं जिनकी डिग्रीज यूएस और यूरोप की हैं, राइट नाउ, हु आर वर्किंग फॉर देम इन इंडिया, एंड नन ऑफ देम वर्क्स फॉर लेस देन 50 lakhs पर एनम. नन ऑफ देम, एक भी नहीं मुझे मिला पूरी कंपनी में. दे स्टार्ट फ्रॉम दैट. सो दीज आर वेरी वेरी निश स्किल्स, वेरी वेरी हाई डिमांड स्किल्स, स्पेसिफिक स्किल्स जो अब इंडियंस भी एक्वायर कर रहे हैं, राइट, एंड स्लोली दे आर गेटिंग एक्सपोज टू दैट, राइट. सो एक लर्निंग ये भी है कि हमारे यहाँ पर भी बहुत सारे इनफैक्ट ग्रेजुएट्स हैं जो प्लान करते हैं स्टडी अब्रॉड ग्रेजुएशन के बाद बहुत सारे कोर्सेज के लिए कि मुझे यहाँ जाना है वहाँ, बट नंबर जब उनसे पूछते हैं कि क्या करने जाना है, वो टिपिकल आंसर्स होते हैं MBA या मास्टर या वो. आप इन कोर्सेज और इन एरियाज को भी समझोगे, यूआर में कौन क्या होता है वगैरह, यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड कि आप अगर वैसे कोर्सेज फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटी से, एंड इवन इफ यू एंड अप वर्किंग इन अब्रॉड फॉर सम इयर्स और इवन कम बैक इन इंडिया फॉर दैट मैटर, यू विल बी हाईली सरप्राइज्ड कि आपको किस तरह की जॉब्स मिलेंगी और क्या पे स्केल होगा आपका.
Totally agree. I think health economics हुआ, public health हुआ, public
Yeah,
health is
exactly.
again, I mean, for a country like India is emerging like anything.
Yeah. So the point is that we all need to understand that what are these different kind of functions, what skill sets or knowledge is required to perform these roles, right? And how I can acquire this, right? And trust me, because in our days, internet was almost not available. Today, everything is available. You just need to have this will to understand. Search on Google. Now you have Chat GPT, AI. You will find everything like this, right? All you need to understand and develop an interest to have some good in-depth understanding of all these roles, right? That मैं ये भी कर सकता हूँ, मैं वो भी कर सकता हूँ. तो I think we can cover this much only in 1 hour, but the roles, the opportunities are so much especially when for the life sciences graduates, right, pharma graduates, or even for the other allied, people who are pursuing bachelors in biotech, bachelors in organic chemistry, who can also transition to these roles, right, because the foundation is same. They have immense opportunities. The only thing is that they need to only understand what is really required in terms of that skill, and how they can acquire that skill, what course will help them, what next certification will help them. So if you can just match this and do a dedicated job and put some effort, definitely you can make a great career in coming 5 to 10 years.
No, I think it's a great point because you have covered two things. An individual coming directly after graduation and joining these consultancy firm at whatever level, entry level, and then gaining this experience and learning on the floor, or there are courses which one can pursue in the US for a specific niche area like public health or health
Yeah.
economics, which is
Yep.
emerging field today. So one may not stick to the standard MBA in marketing and standard MBA
Yeah.
in finance or standard MBA in product development. I think there are niche areas which have
Exactly.
developed over the past years. One can very well pursue a career in these areas, build a career in these areas, because eventually in health sciences or in life sciences you will need people at different levels to understand different subject at the depth of the subject. So like Anil graduating, you should start assessing yourself कि आपका interest किस तरफ है. इंटरनेट पे सब कुछ अवेलेबल है.
Yeah.
All you can do is reach out to people working in these companies. Start finding through chat GPT, start finding through your seniors कौन क्या कर रहे हैं, and then probably it is easier to make a decision कि आपको किस direction में जाना है, and whether it is going to be a job right after your graduation or you are going to pursue a master's in a particular field within life sciences domain. So I think Anil, you have touched upon all the important points for students. And before we let you go, just one final message to students who are about to complete their graduation or who are in their early years of a particular field and they want to switch to a consultancy role. So what is your one line message or a short message to these individuals?
I think the only thing that will help them is, especially, if they can start focusing. And I'm not saying that, कि सब कुछ भूल भाल के graduation में लग जाओ, nothing like it, right? So just be aware, right? And how you can be aware, right? Just be aware about uh, what is happening, right, in life sciences industry, right? And this awareness, you don't need anything special, right? Go on Google, right? Just spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes every day, right? And start just reading it. Don't even try to even remember anything, right? Like putting an effort to, you know, pass your pharmacology exam, going through KD3 party. No need to put that effort. Just padho usko, right? Develop an interest, right? That what is happening, right? You will be surprised, right? There are so many research reports on Google which are free, right? Gartner's and CBI and all that. These resources are free also and paid also. Free is enough for a student, right? To understand very specific about this industry, right? क्या हो रहा है, कैसे इंडस्ट्री इवॉल्व हो रही है, क्या क्या कंपनीज कर रही हैं, किन एरियाज में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, राइट? बिकॉज you are at the end of the day you are doing that course only, right? So have create some awareness. आप सिर्फ अपने ग्रेजुएशन में सिर्फ अवेयरनेस क्रिएट करते रहो, right? So that once you are at the end of your academic journey, for example you are ending your graduation, I am very sure you will get a mindset, right? That how I need to take this understanding and knowledge to the next level, right? जो होगा आपके सॉफ्ट स्किल्स, आपके डोइंग स्किल्स और आपके टेक्निकल स्किल्स, राइट? तो आप अवेयरनेस से स्टार्ट करो. नाउ हु रियली वांट टू टेक एन अर्ली स्टेप एंड बी रेडी, राइट? जिनको बहुत जल्दी है और विच इज़ वेरी गुड, जल्दी होनी भी चाहिए बिकॉज कंपटीशन होता है आगे जाके. स्टार्ट फोकसिंग ऑन ऑल दीज 3 स्किल्स, राइट? आपके पास कोर्सेरा है, ये बहुत मेंबरशिप्स आजकल ईयरली बहुत मतलब एक स्टूडेंट, राइट? सो आप यूडेमी, कोर्सेरा, लिंक्डइन लर्निंग, बहुत सारे चैनल्स, तो ये 3 तो बहुत पॉपुलर है. इन पे जाके ये बेसिक इन तीनों के कोर्सेज करने स्टार्ट करो, पढ़ो सिर्फ, राइट? वीडियो ट्रेनिंग्स हैं जो आपको हेल्प करेंगी कॉन्सेप्चुअल नॉलेज में, बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग में, राइट? कि ये क्या चीज़ें होती हैं, राइट, एंड दे आर वेरी वेरी गुड वीडियो ट्यूटोरियल्स, बिकॉज वो आपको कोई रटने की जरूरत है, कुछ मेमोराइज करने की जरूरत, आप सिर्फ एक मूवी की तरह आप उसको 2-3 बार 3-3 बार रिपीट करके देखो, यू विल स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि वो क्या मैसेज दे रहा है मुझे। सो आप ये दोनों चीज़ें, एक अवेयरनेस रखो, 30 मिनट स्पेंड कर कि लाइफ साइंसेज इंडस्ट्री में क्या हो रहा है, और साथ में 30 मिनट्स अगर ये कोर्सेज में से धीरे धीरे अपनी पेज पे कर सकते, 1 ईयर 1 आवर अगर आप पर डे अगर आपका स्पेंड कर रहे हो इस, विच इज़, मैं तो ये भी बोलता हूँ कि अगर आप 50% का भी आपका सक्सेस रेट है 1 आवर करिएगा, तो 4 साल की डिग्री में आप कहीं का कहीं पहुँच सकते।
राइट, आई थिंक रेलेवेंट मैसेज फॉर स्टूडेंट्स कि दिन में आधा घंटा 1 घंटा अगर आपने निकाल लिया और कोई भी सब्जेक्ट को आप परस्यू कर रहे हैं, इट विल नॉट टेक मोर देन
Yeah.
couple of years of your third year, final year, that you can be good enough to crack that interview, get
Yeah.
an entry level job, and then learn on the floor, learn while you are being paid. उससे अच्छा कुछ और हो नहीं सकता।
Correct.
तो कोर्सेज बहुत इकोनॉमिकल हैं। अनिल हैज ऑलरेडी मेंशन ऑन शो व्हाट्स नेक्स्ट विद सुमित। आई होप स्टूडेंट्स को ये एपिसोड मीनिंगफुल यूजफुल रहेगा सुनने के लिए और देखने के लिए, बिकॉज आई थिंक दीज career journeys can inspire people, inspire students, can inspire these early starters to really learn ki what is happening outside their particular domain or function that they are doing right now. अगर students इससे सुन के कुछ सीख सकते हैं और inspiration ले सकते हैं, then that will be really worth the time that we are inviting these guests on this platform. So thank you once again, Anil, for joining us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
see you someday soon.
Yeah. Bye.
All right. Thank
Bye,
you.
Sumit.
Bye.